Today, we're going to be talking about X emerging as a possible competitor to YouTube as a video podcast platform. And yes, not only does every comment section of any tweet I've seen have some sort of GIF that shows full penetration, but 2 times over the last year I've had to quit the platform because I saw someone dying within 30 seconds of logging on. 2 times I had to make that decision. But before we get into all that, I'd like to say that this episode is executive produced by the one and only Christopher Hart. Without his big baller support, I'd probably be working for one of those companies that supplies and rigs voting machines. Will bigwigs be looking into our operating procedures? Probably not. The pendulum will probably swing in their direction on the next one, and that's just the cost of doing business. Jeff over in quality assurance gets to decide who wins elections, and we just have to be okay with that. But thanks to Christopher Hart and his big baller support, I don't have to do any of that or meddle in politics, voting fraud, or whatever that is. And if you'd like to become a big baller supporter of the show, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. It all helps the algorithm. Welcome to Catching You Up with
Nadav, it's go bits.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for the goatee that you're seeing on my face. Halloween did just happen, and I definitely overcommitted to a costume. And I much rather keep this disgusting goatee on than let you know what my actual chin looks like. In this economy? Yourself. So I really didn't think I would be talking about X as a viable podcast platform a couple years ago. I wouldn't even think that I would be having this conversation 1 year ago. But with more and more attempted censorships on YouTube, some creators are getting pushed to upload to different platforms. Some creators are getting pushed to upload to different platforms to counteract the shadow banning that they're experiencing on YouTube, or just taking it on the chin. And that happens all the time. And for the most part, there's very little you can do. And sure, I'm not negating the fact that there's some times that you're going to be uploading a video to YouTube and the algorithm just never really gives it wings to begin with. And there's really no foul play that you could point that to other than, yeah, make better content. But sometimes strange things happen to a video where it's doing really well and then all of a sudden, momentum just stops. Is there a fucking fly in here? There is a fly in here. Some videos are really easy to understand why YouTube might suppress them. And regardless of how you feel about the elections, listen to this.
By the time of the next election, it's going to be everyone's going to be doing podcasts. There's no getting away from it.
Well, what's interesting is something happened. I'm sure it was a mistake at YouTube where you couldn't search for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a mistake.
It has
There's
to be a
no way
mistake,
that was
Joe.
on purpose. And so if you Googled Rogan Trump,
They got to Joe. They got to Joe.
you
He's
could only
apologizing.
you could only get clips. You couldn't watch the whole
Yeah,
episode. You
yeah.
couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And so we reached out to them a couple of times, and they fixed it, to their credit. So now you can find it.
Oh, good.
But so in the meantime, Elon was furious. And so Elon contacted Daniel Ek at Spotify, and they put it on X as well.
That's a pretty strange thing to happen on accident. Sometimes it's less obvious why things get throttled. Take a look at this post from the guys from Channel 5 News. He says, I don't know how this happened, but the moment the video about federal Indian boarding schools hit 500K views in 9 hours, it immediately disappeared from all YouTube feeds, recommended homepages, and totally disappeared, currently getting 10 to 15 views an hour. That is a steep plummet. The only option to move the video forward at this point seems to be guerrilla hard post marketing, so that's where we are at. And then he said, go watch, link in bio, but in all honesty, Andrew, maybe posting on X was a viable option for you. But either way, I feel that pain. You post a video, it's doing really well, and then all of a sudden the breeze changes and your views per hour plummet, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Whose fucking skull do I have to crack? And granted, you're not going to say that out loud. What type of fuckery is happening to do this? I know I've been in situations where I've experienced that, and I've had to call a YouTube contact and be like, hey, so video got taken down, literally giving us zero reason why. Mr. YouTube contact, or Mrs. YouTube contact. Is there any insight you can share with us as to what we did wrong and how we could prevent this from happening in the future? And even the YouTube contact says that they have to go do some digging and get back to me shortly. And even when they do dig and they do find out what the answer is, it's not like they're a public company. Like, they don't have to share the actual reason. So even then, they have to kind of water down the information into something that they're allowed to say. Joe Rogan recently had Elon Musk on his podcast. They went on for 3 hours talking about all sorts of stuff. But the only thing that really stuck to me is,
First of all,
Yeah, it's bullshit in all directions.
thank you so much for buying Twitter.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
You're welcome.
I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented.
there is a flaw in the way that YouTube works. And Elon Musk was like, yeah, I'll be the solution to that flaw. And that is what I've been looking for a really long time. When will someone step up and be a better version of YouTube? Now, that's a loaded question, because to be a better version of YouTube, it's not one problem that you need to overcome. There's a whole bunch of reasons that makes YouTube shitty, but the things that make it popular are the financial advantage of posting onto there and the discovery algorithm. I have no idea how Twitter's algorithm works, and it scares me because, like I said, I just see porn and death every time I log on to that platform. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's 7 a.m. I just opened my eyes and I just saw someone die. I didn't know today was going to be ruined for me, but it's 7:01 a.m. and here we are. So what does this mean for creators? Because not everyone is a Tucker Carlson. Not everyone is a Joe Rogan. So if you're having some pretty politically charged podcasts, or really anything that YouTube might clash with, like joking about drugs or tragedies or protected classes or anything that a comedian would make fun of, X might be the right platform for you. But what do the financials look like? Should every creator post on X? Let's take a quick break from the show and thank the sponsor of this episode, MyBookie. I'm someone that's always enjoyed a good gamble. And I've always looked for a reason to get excited about sports. But you know what I've been experimenting with that has been bringing my excitement to it? Betting on games that I know nothing about. Genuinely great strat for getting into sports. They also have fun things like blackjack and European roulette. Here's to a great sports season, no matter what sport you like, with MyBookie. When you're ready to get started, just click the link in the show notes, sign up, and you're ready to bet. Use promo code Nadav to double your bankroll with a 100% deposit bonus right away. You heard that right. 100% deposit bonus up to $1,000 with code Nadav before you even place your bet. And if you've been betting with MyBookie already, it's time for you to check out MyBookie Plus. Their new loyalty rewards program can help you earn extra cash for doing stuff you already do. Here's a pro tip to get you rolling. The NFL teams with powerhouse offensive lines are dominating the run game this year. And betting game total unders has been printing money. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie. Thank you, MyBookie, for sponsoring this episode, and let's get back to the show. Let's take a look at Mr. Beast. He's a real nerd for these kinds of stats, and is responsible for a lot of the thumbnails that a lot of you guys fucking hate. But, you know, if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. I don't recall if he's ever publicly posted how much he makes off of YouTube and his revenue on there, but I know it's a lot. And I remember him making a stink about not posting his videos on Twitter, which is crazy. He makes a tweet and says, I uploaded, go watch or I'll drop kick you. Someone responded to that saying, upload on this platform. And Elon Musk responded to that tweet saying, yeah. And then Mr. Beast responded to that with, my videos cost millions to make. And even if they got 1 billion views on X, it wouldn't fund a fraction of it. I'm down, though, to test stuff once monetization is really cranking. And monetization did get really cranking. Enough for him to start running some experiments. Check this out. So in January of 2024, he made a post saying, how much revenue do you think my post on here with 124 million views made? We will share screenshot of revenue in 3 days. And then he actually shared how much he made. My first X video made over $250,000, which if you didn't know Twitter was called X, you'd be like, yo, Mr. Beast is posting to X videos? What the fuck is going on here? He said that he made $250,000, but it's a bit of a facade. Advertisers saw the attention it was getting and bought ads on my video, I think. And thus, my revenue per video is probably higher than what you would experience. He's made 156.6 million impressions and has gotten $263,000 for that video. I still want to say that's kind of a low amount of money for that view count. And granted, that revenue isn't enough money to fund the type of videos that Mr. Beast makes, but even then, he thinks that that number is inflated. He then showed how much money he was making for the first 5 videos that he uploaded to X. In April, he posted a screenshot of posting videos on X has been awesome so far. On average, let's call it 150 million views per episode, which is wild numbers. And he says, so far it's been around $1 million in ad revenue. I'm just adding it to my video budgets, so now I can spend more on content, LOL. And that would make sense as long as these Twitter engagements aren't leeching off of his YouTube views. If I plug in some of those numbers into the old J Piano, at a $25 CPM for 120 million views, he should have gotten about $3 million for that one video. Instead, he got $250K for it. And $1 million total for the first 5 videos that he uploaded? Now, my math can be off sometimes. It's been off in the past. But even with a CPM of like $10, the amount of money that he should be bringing for each of those videos, I want to say is like 1.2 mil, like minimum. And that's 5 times more than what Twitter is giving him for each video. But really the best example on whether or not it makes financial sense to post on Twitter is the fact that Mr. Beast isn't posting his videos on Twitter anymore. But some people aren't incentivized by the money to post on X. Financial incentives don't matter to them. For people like Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, they do value and prioritize visibility. So look, so far, Twitter has solved one of the bottlenecks that YouTube has, which is they're not really going to censor shit, but they're not going to pay you handsomely for it either. So is it time for content creators to start simultaneously uploading to X? It's a case-by-case basis. But once Twitter gets that ad revenue really cranking, maybe that'll change and YouTube will actually have to start acting like they're in a competitive market. Damn, 2 politically adjacent episodes in a row? What the fuck? Are we in election season? That's probably a mistake. But really, I'm just using it to explain the mechanics of things that I really like. Sorry, but also, man, I don't really care. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and before we head out, I'd like to thank everyone that you're seeing on screen. They're all producers. Is that a fly again? They're all producers on this show, and I'd like to say that without their support, it'd be very difficult to put this show out as regularly and as consistently as I do. And if you'd like to become a producer of the show, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. But more importantly, I'd like to remind you,
This is a totally unconfirmed news.
I'll see you next week.